in my opinion, the 2024 AFL Gather Round was a massive flop. And here's why. Every single game almost was a disaster. There was maybe 2 or 3 good games. There were some close games, yes, but all the games were just disappointing. Sure, Gather Round is a fantastic idea. The atmosphere, the amazing scenes with all fans and all that. But as a neutral, sitting back, watching at home, I just felt completely disappointed and gutted because, in my opinion, this Gather Round did not work. Now, last year was a bit of an exception. It was decent last year. But I've come up with my 2025 AFL Gather Round predictions. I know it's very, very early, but I'm feeling quite gutted about how disappointing the games were for Gather Round this year. We saw robberies, 2 robberies. We saw some close games. We almost saw my team choke to Hawthorn. And, I'm feeling quite annoyed, so I've decided to make this video. So hopefully you guys enjoy it. And, let's jump straight into it. Now, I think I've come up with the perfect Gather Round fixture here. A cracking 2025 AFL Gather Round predictions. So let me know in the comments how you guys think of it. So Thursday night, start off. Adelaide, they don't deserve Thursday night games the way they're playing at the moment. So I'm going to give it to Port Adelaide. Time for them to take the spotlight and Gather Round. And I think it'll be against Carlton Thursday night at the Adelaide Oval, 7:40 Victorian time, I should say. So, look, this game should be a really, really good one. Hopefully, fingers crossed, in my opinion, I think it'd work perfectly. Thursday night, Carlton are playing really good football at the moment. They haven't lost a game so far this season. And Port Adelaide, they're a high-scoring team. Both teams like their offense. They've got big key forwards that can kick goals. This should be a good game. That's my Thursday night game. Now, for Friday, now, I don't actually know the name of the stadium. I'll put some pictures of the stadium up now. It's in like the winery area of Adelaide, but I personally think that a double header will happen next year, Gather Round again on the Friday, 5 o'clock, Gold Coast versus North Melbourne, because why not? I mean, 2 teams that are pretty irrelevant. Might as well put them on a Friday doubleheader, 5 o'clock in the winery area, because, Gold Coast, North Melbourne, it wouldn't be a very good game, I feel, anywhere else. Spice it up. The South Australian Premier wants a game out there in the winery area, so why not put one there? So that's what I've done. Obviously, probably could not happen, but look, that's what I put. Moving on to Friday night. Now, this game should be an absolute belter. Sydney versus Geelong at the Adelaide Oval, 8:10 Victorian time. Why would this not be a good game? I personally would think having it in Gather Round would spark up, a bit of a rivalry and make it better than at the SCG or GMHBA or the MCG. Having it at the Adelaide Oval would be so entertaining, especially for neutrals going to the game, let alone watching at home. So I personally think this would be a fantastic game. Both teams at the moment look really, really good and, probably deserve a Friday night Gather Round primetime game. Moving on to the Saturday. Now, first game, pretty irrelevant. Smack it out of the park. West Coast versus St Kilda up at the Adelaide Hills at 1:30 Victorian time. Now, I put this here because, Adelaide Hills, we've seen some high-scoring games so far, 3 high-scoring games so far in all AFL games played here, all in Gather Round, obviously. And look, West Coast, they managed to score 78 points here, and St Kilda struggled at Norwood. So why not give St Kilda a game in West Coast against West Coast up at the Adelaide Hills? Now, next game, doubleheader at the Adelaide Oval. They'll do it again. I'm not a huge fan of it, but it should work, First one, Fremantle versus Essendon, 4:30 Victorian time at the Adelaide Oval. Now, why wouldn't this work? Fremantle at Essendon at Op, this would be, decent, especially for Freo fans, probably. And Essendon versus Fremantle in Melbourne doesn't do it for me. So why not put it in Gather Round? It'd be a close game. Both teams have enjoyed recent spells at the Adelaide Oval, so why not put this game here? And at the moment, both teams are doing decent, so it could be a decent first of a doubleheader on the Saturday. Now, the second doubleheader, I've got to give Adelaide a primetime game in Gather Round, so I'll give a game against Brisbane at the Adelaide Oval, 8:10 Victorian time. Now, why wouldn't this game work? It just sounds absolutely superb. Adelaide, they've been absolutely shambolic so far this year, especially in that gather round game. But they do deserve a game, and a big one against Brisbane as well. Who knows when gather round will occur next year, like in terms of which round. But nevertheless, this game still should be a pretty good one, hopefully. And then moving on to the Sunday, I've personally come up with an absolute banging Sunday fixture here. All three games should be televised. That's how good I think they are. Now, the first one is Sunday, 12:30 Victorian time. I really love that 12:30 time slot. Really, really worked for Gold Coast versus GWS. Instead of having it at the Adelaide Hills, though, I'm going to have it at the Adelaide Oval because it's a huge game. GWS versus Melbourne. I personally think that'd be a fantastic game. Why have it at boring Giants Stadium or Canberra or at the MCG? Have it at the Adelaide Oval. How good would that be for the neutrals? This gather round fixture is just so good in me. It's got me so excited for 2025 gather round. But yeah, I know 2024 gather round just happened. It was so disappointing in my opinion. This game would just make it absolutely fantastic. Now, moving on to the game that I personally think will be televised. Now, it might not be a good game on paper, but I personally think it would be a good game. And because it's at Norwood, we could see some close encounters. Both these teams have played in Norwood at the past. It's Richmond versus Hawthorn, 3:30 time slot. Richmond versus Hawthorn sounds pretty decent at the MCG, I know, but why not have it at Norwood? Small ground, should be high scoring. Maybe not, though, because Richmond weren't high scoring there, and we haven't seen high scoring games, but who knows? It could work, it could be a flop, but I personally think it'd work and is pretty good. Now, the next game, I personally probably just put this here just because it's my team. Again, the AFL likes us having the last game a gather round, so why not do it again for a third season in a row? And I want to see a Sunday night gather round game. Why not? It's in the school holidays. People wouldn't care. We'd like to, have a bit of a break between Richmond versus Hawthorn as well, so so the fans can stay at that game and stay to the end and then come over for a huge Sunday night clash between the Western Bulldogs and Collingwood at the Adelaide Oval. Why wouldn't that work? At Marvel, I'm sick of losing to the Dogs at Marvel or getting close results to the Dogs at Marvel. I don't want to see it. I don't want to have home games against the Bulldogs at Marvel. We never play them at the G, so why not have it in Adelaide Oval gather round? It'd be an interesting game in my opinion, and a pretty fun one for the neutrals. Maybe not so for me, but for the neutrals it'd be fantastic. Sunday night as well. This gather round fixture is absolutely belting in my opinion. Let me know your gather round predictions for 2025 in the comments. And also feel free to rate mine as well in the comments. And I'll see you guys in another video very, very soon.